Welcome back, y'all. This is gonna be a good one. I went and saw Sinners. I was planning on watching it that like Saturday, right? Because I already knew, that it was gonna be a bunch of spoilers, and I do not do spoilers. I don't. Okay, that's why on this video I have it listed spoilers, so that way if you haven't seen the movie and you don't like spoilers, but if you're on any kind of social media, you're going to get some spoilers. So I said, you know what? I saw this movie Tuesday at 11 o'clock in the morning because I personally don't like to be in a theater when everybody, it depends. Okay? It depends. But most likely I like to go to the mall 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. So I actually wrote notes for this because there was a lot I wanted to cover on this movie. I wanted to go live and almost went live, but it's something about with me having under 1,000 subscribers that some crap about it's going to just be archived and people won't see it, something like that. So I'm like, well, we just going to deal with this. Part of the reason why I wanted to go live was because I don't know how much camera life I have on here. I don't know if I have 15 minutes, 30, and I didn't want it to cut off and have to start over and condense it down and all that. But yeah, this was a good one. I love me horror stuff. You can see I grew up as a child reading Goosebumps. So I said, let me go ahead and put this on while I, do this. Now, I will say this. Before I saw Sinners, I hadn't seen any trailer. I actually had no clue what the movie was about, which is rare, right? Because I usually, just like everybody else, you'll see a trailer or a preview or something. I did not see anything, so I went totally in this movie not knowing what was going on. I just knew it was going to be a horror movie. I didn't know if they were going to be like demon possessed or what. So, it was news to me when I found out they were vampires. So, got my notes here. So, since I didn't see the trailer, right, I didn't know that Michael B. Jordan was playing twins. And I thought that was interesting. It threw me off at first. So I was like, I was looking, that scene where they were standing out and they were passing a cigarette between each other, waiting on that white man. I was like, I wonder, am I going to be able to get used to this? We've seen movies like that before, though. Like, what's the movie with Lisa Lohan? Lindsay Lohan, where she played twins, So I did get used to it. One Smoke, one Stack. I did kind of get them mixed up, but I know Smoke was more business oriented. He was more about his business, his money. Whereas Stack was a little more relaxed. Like when they opened their juke joint and, he was letting people pay with fake nickels and shit, and Smoke was like, no. So there's so many things to touch about in this movie. Like, for example, when Smoke and Stack come back to Mississippi, they had spent some time in Chicago. And if anybody knows about history, U.S. history, that was the Great Migration. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the Great Migration was about early 1900s through like the 50s, where Black Southerners, they left for different reasons, more than one at a time. They left and went up north or out west. To escape racism, Jim Crow, which is really deep in the South, and for jobs, looking for better paying jobs. Sharecropping is crap. If you look up what sharecropping is, it is crap. It's like one step above slavery. So a lot of people went up north for that, and they came back down after they made some money and stuff. They're like, let's come back down here, open up a juke joint. So this is Clarkdale, Mississippi. I'm not sure if it's like the Delta, but that's where we're at. And so, when it comes to like the Delta, Louisiana, certain parts, you have what is called hoodoo, which is, it's a spiritual practice that a lot of people of African descent practice, right? Even to this day. And it's actually, I think, picking up more popularity now. Like you see more people with the crystals and the brain of the sages and everything like that. So Annie, who was Smoke's, they were together, but he left to go to Chicago, come back. that's what she was into. She was into that kind of stuff. People paid for her little elixirs, bags of, because Mojo bags, he actually carried it with him. And that scene where she was telling him, you think this stuff doesn't work? Like, you came back in one piece, and it's because I prayed for you. I, helped you with this Mojo bag. And so they have a child together that died. I don't know if it died as a miscarriage or during infancy. But they ended up making up by Annie getting her cheeks clapped in her little store. I said, oh, this is going to be one of them little movies where we got little spicy scenes here and there. So where we're introduced to the head vampire. I don't know how to pronounce his name, and I seriously don't remember his name being said in the movie, but it starts with an R. The head vampire, we're introduced to him by him pretty much damn near being barbecued, right? Because the sun's still out, and he's been hunted by these indigenous, aka Native Americans. So we don't know if they're vampire hunters or what, but he was running for his life from them. Went to these white people, racist white people. I think one of them was in the KKK or whatever. And the indigenous people tried to warn them, like, look, this man ain't what you think he is. We're trying to help you out. You might want to let him come out. Let us deal with him. They didn't, and bada bing, bada boom, they both get turned by this guy. So we go back to, as far as main characters go, I'm going to say the main character is Sammy. The young man. They never quite said his age, but like late 20s. I'm not late 20s. Late teens, early 30s. He is Smoking Stack's little cousin. And, he's, following behind them. His father's a preacher. So I know a lot of times preachers' kids have this pressure on them. I see it so many times. Preacher kids be the main ones wilding out. I'm not going to say most of the time, but a lot of times. I think because they have this pressure on them. So he wants to play the blues. Now, this young man, his real name is Miles. No, it wasn't Miles. Yeah, Miles Caton. This was this young man's first movie. I looked him up. He's 20 years old. First movie, he's a musician. And he did great. Like, I feel like he's gonna kind of be like Caleb McCollin from Stranger Things. He's not as young as Caleb was, but I feel like doors are gonna open a lot for him because I found out he's done music for a little while. His voice is like, you don't expect that voice to come out of him. Right? You're expecting that voice to come out of somebody late 20s, early 30s, right? He got a very soulful voice. And so another thing with this movie, I noticed that there was because at first I was like, is this a low-key musical? But it wasn't a musical in the sense where somebody's talking and they just break out in song. I guess that would be considered a musical, right? Where in this one, but you had a lot of music. And I could tell that a lot of the actors actually sang and played instruments in real life. Like the head vampire, the two people he turned out, they're musicians. Sammy is a musician in real life. That grown-ass married woman whose cootie cat he ate in the back room, I can tell she sings and stuff in real life just from her performance. And I thought that was interesting. Now, there's a scene in this movie that a lot of people are talking about where Sammy starts playing his guitar. Or is that a guitar? Because the thing it's circular instead of like 8 shaped like a guitar. Let me turn this light on. I got to get some more equipment, y'all. I'm not going to beg y'all for no money, but I'm just saying we're going to deal with this till I can get some equipment. So that scene where Sammy started playing, and I love that song. It's called, I think it's called "I Lied to You," and someone said Raphael Sadiq like co-wrote it or something. And I love me some Raphael Sadiq. Just now finding out he penned a lot of stuff for people. But when that scene started, everybody's in the juke joint dancing, and you start to slowly see, how can I put this? I want to say the word remnants. I'm not sure if that's the correct word, but you start to see basically black music in different eras. You see, 80s hip hop. You see African dancers with the mask and stuff. You start to see, not only see it, but you hear that music as well intertwined. And I thought that was very creative. I have to shout out Ryan Coogler, for taking that chance. I mean, that's not a chance a lot of directors take, because you don't know how people are going to receive that. And that scene was just, it was very, I'm kind of speechless about it. But after that scene, right after that scene, that's when we get to the gory parts, because the head vampire and the two people he turned out, see them, because they hear Sammy, he's Sammy in the movie. They hear Sammy playing, they go to him. And that's when the chaos starts. I also want to talk about different things I wrote. Like I said, forgive me, my stuff is all over the place. But we're introduced to Chinese business owners, a married couple and their daughter. I think she's like teenage. And so I thought that was interesting, because I was like, when you think of 1932 in Mississippi, you just think black and white. Even though Chinese people have been here, I know they came in California during the gold rush in like the 1800s, but I didn't picture them being in Mississippi. And I ran across a video on YouTube, I believe, or some other social media platform that I was on, where they were talking about how they liked how they included them, because there were Chinese people in Mississippi at that time working. I'm sorry, I just heard a loud thump and I don't know where it came from. So they play a very pivotal role in this, because here's the thing with vampires. You have to invite them in, right? In this movie. Like, if you watch The Lost Boys, came out in 1987, epic vampire movie. If it's not in the top 5, it's in the top 10. Well, the head vampire in there, he was saying, if you invite them in, you are defenseless. So the garlic and the holy water was not working on him if you invite them in. Now, in this one, you could still get them with the garlic and holy water, but at the end of the day, you have to invite them in. They can't just come in. If you invite them in, it's on. So they got Grace's husband, because he went out looking for the car. Like, I don't know why people kept leaving. Like, when they started to find out that when people left, they would come back as vampires, nobody's leaving, nobody's coming in. Okay? That's what it would have been with me. So they got into Grace's head, who's a Chinese woman, and so she's like, come in, MFer. And I'm like, I know they threaten your child. Girl, Grace wasn't listening to nobody. Grace said, let them come on in. She made her a little cocktail, with the gasoline, the rag hanging out the bottle. So when she said, come on in, they're like, all right. And by this time, if I'm not mistaken, Stack had been turned out by Annie. Is that her name? No, not Annie. Goddamn. By Mary. I'm going to get to Mary in a minute. He had got turned out, so he was in the back room, I believe. So they ended up having to fight. It was just this full-out brawl, right? So the scene where Smoke and Stack, because like I said, Stack at this point is a vampire. We see Smoke on top of his brother. He's about to stake him in the heart. We never see the end of that scene. And we find out at the end that he didn't kill him, because he was like, look, just stay away from the family, just whatever. So he ended up being a vampire. We know vampires don't age. So we, at the end, and also, if you haven't seen this, I'm assuming you have, you need to stay, when the credits start rolling, don't leave the theater yet, because I almost did, because we go to the future, Sammy's in 1992, so I'm assuming Sammy's probably like 80 years old, right? If he was 20, 60 years ago, I'm assuming he was 20 around that time. So he's 80 years old. He's become this famous blues musician. And Stack and Mary meet him, and they asked him, hey, do you want to have eternal life? Because we can get you right. And, you know, he was like, I'm good on that. And the crazy part when Sammy was like, that was the best night of my life. Really? Fighting vampires and seeing people get burned up and cut up. That was the best night of your life. Whatever. But I wanted to talk about the Mary character. Now, the Mary character, and also the actress that played her in real life, her ancestry is, I couldn't find out too much, but her grandfather was half black. So now I don't know if her parents, because if her grandfather's half black, one of her parents is like a quarter black and something else. Her grandfather is half black, half Filipino. So by the time we get to her, I really don't know what that mixture is, but I thought it was interesting that they actually, I don't know, I'm curious to know if they put that in the movie after casting her, or did they just happen to cast, or did they cast her in that role because the character was, you know, at this point, I don't know what the percentage of black is, but anyway, she can definitely pass for a white woman. Now, back then, because of that one drop rule, she would be black, even though she could carry herself as a white woman. So, but I thought it was interesting that she cared for Stack so much that she was willing to risk being with him, because, you know, anybody saw her, they were like, who's this white woman over here with all these black people and everything? And I thought that was interesting that she was willing to, because if you look at the time period, if you were a mixed race person and you could pass for being white, and for you to have a better life, you a lot of times would just live as a white person. That's why I tell people, white people that are racist, like, you don't know what you got up in you. Somebody down the line could have been half black and said, you know what, I'm going to live as a white person, and boom, 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 3-4 generations, there you are. You see what I'm saying? Like, you just never know what you cut with, what you mix with. I'm going to go over my notes. The welcoming of vampires. Oh, yeah, I already explained that about how you have to welcome them in. I feel like Annie, it was sad that Annie got staked, but she told Smoke, she said, if they get me, you need to kill me. Put me out of my misery. Don't let me be a vampire. And it was sad because with her being into that spiritual type stuff, she was real hip to them. So some of the characters I want to talk about, Cornbread, I liked Cornbread. The man who played, his real name is, you know, the one who was like the drunk. I forgot his name, but he's a really good actor. He played like a little comic relief. You know, you got a little comic relief in this. Now, this is definitely a multi-genre. Like, to me, I feel like it says horror, adventure. I think you can add musical on there, but I think people probably wouldn't take it seriously if it was a musical. Plus, like I said earlier, I think musicals are like when you just break out into song in the middle of a sentence. When they didn't do that here, you just heard a lot of good music. So this movie makes you really want to just study some history. There's a lot of historical things going on. When I was on Twitter, a lot of people were saying they want a movie about the indigenous, you know, vampire hunters, because they were on his ass. Like, that was the only time in the movie where he was afraid of somebody, because we saw him. I'm thinking he flew from somewhere, because he like fell out the sky and his back was just smoking, you know. So, but yeah, and listen, Michael B. Jordan, a lot of women have always looked at him as being attractive, and I have too, but it was just something, he had some extra stank on it in this movie. I don't know if it was the accent, the clothes, because he was well dressed. When he played the twins, they were both well dressed. Them golds in his mouth. It was just, and then, you know, in the 30s, back then, the men, they grew their hair out a little bit. It was still short, but it was like pomade down. Like they did it was like still kind of straight, brushed down. I was like, ooh wee. If Michael, whatever amount of booty Michael was getting before this movie, he's probably gonna get 3 times that based off this character alone, okay? So shout out, man, Ryan Coogler. I love what is going on in Black Hollywood, man. I love it. I ran across something on Twitter where they were saying they feel like there's going to be like another kind of renaissance, like the Harlem Renaissance, and I can feel it. I definitely have seen a shift in arts with black people in it, and I'm not talking about like the forced diversity stuff. I'm talking about like the stuff that we just do, like Ryan Coogler. He's going to be up there. Well, not going to be. He is up there. Him, Jordan Peele, Issa Rae. The woman who I forget her name, but she does The Shy, and she did Queen and Slim. She's LBGTQ. I forgot her name, but her as well. Like I love movies. I love the fact that we're going back to the movies because I got scared. I have a video on here actually a few months ago or maybe a year or so ago where I was like, are we going to just be streaming stuff? Because streaming is cool. I like the convenience of it, but I'm going to see Sinners, for example. I'm going to see Sinners again, but I'm going to see it in IMAX. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's the experience of the movie, of going to the movie, of being around other people that you don't know and experiencing this for the first time. So shout out again to Ryan Coogler, to whoever greenlit the film, to the actors, actresses in this film. Thank you so much for putting this together, man. Shout out to my 132 subscribers. Shout out to the rest of you as well who are not subscribed, but you know you can by hitting that button for me. I'm trying to get to 1,000 so I can go live and talk to you in person, all right? Peace and blessings to all of you. Thank you for watching.